Yeah.
Oh, Icky's here. Look at that.
Where else would I be?
Oh, Leo.
Rafe, where have you been in the morning?
In Florida.
We miss you. We miss you.
I gotta get my act together a little bit. No excuse.
It's okay. I didn't mean to put you on the spot.
No, it's okay. I bought a place in Florida, sight unseen. And we walked into the place. The previous owner was an older gentleman. The grandson came and took him back up to, I think, Teaneck or Passaic and put him in the nursing home. But they left the place with all the stuff. They left everything mamish, except the mezuzahs. He took the mezuzahs with him.
That's the one thing they're not allowed to take.
Yeah, well, I know that. So I've been busy from pretty much sun up to beyond sunset, taking things out, tearing the place, well, emptying it out.
Where is it? Where'd you buy it? Which area?
In Deerfield Beach.
Oh, Century Village?
Yeah.
Which neighborhood? Swansea and
Upminster.
Upminster. Oh, very nice. Near the shore.
The holiest one in the whole place. The rabbi's there.
Yeah. It's across the street from the shore. I know.
Yeah.
Where's David Spira?
Spira's sick.
Who's
Where's
sick?
he at?
He's home, Baruch Hashem, but he's sick.
COVID?
He's sick?
No, not COVID.
I don't know. I thought maybe he was on vacation.
Fauci's got COVID.
We got COVID also in Florida when we first got down there.
He got sick Thursday, Reb Yaakov. He's been sick since Thursday.
Oh, okay. I'll text him. I'll call him, whatever.
Rabbi, you know how you know COVID? It has no Yiddishkeit in. If Fauci has no Yiddishkeit in him at all, because him of all people, he shouldn't publicize when he gets COVID. Somebody said.
I don't know what that means.
Is this the first time he got COVID?
I don't know.
All right, let's know a little Musa here. What are we up to?
Tzarech sheyiftach b'Hashem.
Right. Yeah. So v'tzarech sheyiftach. Perfect. Thank you.
Rave page Ayin Hey, in the middle of the page.
Shkoyach. Okay, got it.
Okay, so v'tzarech sheyiftach b'Shem yisbarach sheyatzlicheu ba'asakov. Right. You need to have bitachon in Hashem to make you be matzliach in your work. Don't just have bitachon on your work and your business. When you're getting parnasa, that's coming from Hashem. Like a person who breaks wood with what do you call a garzon? An axe. Yeah, an axe. Right. So afapisha garzon chaytech, even though it's the axe that's cutting the wood, ain't a koyach bomin barzel, right? So there's a great mashal. The wood is not, the koyach is not coming from the metal. It's coming from the person who's cutting the wood, right? It's like praising Rabar and going to sports, right? It's praising the bat instead of the person who swings the bat, right? It's not the bat, it's the guy that swings the bat, right? So the same thing. You think you're doing the malacha, so you think it's yourself. It's not. You're just the guy. You're just the end user, whatever it is. It's Hashem that's propelling you, whether to cause you to make money or not, right? Is that what I'm doing? Yeah. And a person who has malacha or any sort of business, that is mefarnes his family, right? Don't think that without this malacha I'd be lost. You should have bitachon in Hashem. If I wouldn't have this business, Hashem's going to give me panasa. Some other Indian. All the Maisa Yodav and Tzrachav is in the Yad of Hashem. And there's many shluchim l'makom. Shamar Akosov ki ein la Hashem me'atzor le'shia barav amaat v'aymer ki hu anoitzin chakayach lasis chayil v'amar loy b'chayav loy b'kayach ki beruchi amar Hashem tzvakos. Right. So basically, he's saying the parnasa comes from Hashem. You speak to anybody that really has betachon. A job opportunity goes away. All right, I'll make it another way. I'll make it this way. I'll make it that way. It's all coming from Hashem, right? So that's basically how you have to have betachon. Don't have the betachon in the family and in the boss. And you just have faith in the Rebbeinu Shalom, and he'll make you have it, or he'll make you won't have it. That's all. Okay, that's enough of that. All right. Reb Rafe, there's a Farakwe wedding in Chicago tomorrow.
Who?
Yehuda Markowitz. Yehuda Markowitz making a chassan in Chicago tomorrow.
Heshi Markowitz's grandson is getting married.
Yeah. Whose name is Heshi Markowitz.
Heshi, I knew. Heshi's grandson?
Heshi's grandson, yeah. His grandson is getting married.
He's marrying a girl named Cheplowitz at a terrace Ayala in Skokie.
David Cheplowitz?
David Cheplowitz is marrying off his daughter Kayla.
My neighbor lives right across the street from me.
Okay.
Wow. I just got back last night.
There you go.
3 o'clock.
And here we thought only in New York we don't invite our neighbors across the street. Okay, Chicago's also.
Well, he's been in Florida. For all he knows, the invitation is buried under the pile of bills.
That's right.
Yeah.
Wow.
All right. So, yes, there's a lot of Farakwe people. Rabbi Yeager's going there, and I don't know who else is going.
Well, Yeager has a kid here.
Right. Yeah.
Very nice. Simchas.
Anyways. Yeah. Amen. Okay, so let's go. So where did we leave off? Where did we leave off yesterday? Oh, Tanur Rabbanan. Yeah, Asara. Tzadi Tesam Beis. About 10 lines up from the bottom. Yeah, see it? Where is everybody tonight? I don't know. Okay, we'll go without a minion. Okay, so Tanur Rabbanan. Asara ein choken lem chumah beis agrona. So we said yesterday that you have the place, what do you call it? Granary, whatever it is, the silos where everybody came to collect their truma. So 10 of them, we don't give them truma in the Beis Agronos. And these are them. Cheresh, so that's somebody who's deaf and mute. Shoit of a kata, that's tumtum, somebody who, our good old tumtum from a few weeks ago. He doesn't have simonim, v'dragonis, v'eved, v'isha, v'ha'aral, v'tamei, v'noise isha she'ein hagenas lai. Okay, so the first bunch are fairly straightforward. Now here you have a woman who is not proper. He did not marry this woman, how do you call it? Properly. Right? Meaning he was not allowed to marry, it's gonna make a chalal. Yeah, meaning he doesn't become a chalal, but the kids will, but he doesn't, but still he won't, they don't give him any truma. V'kulan, right? But all of them we send them to the houses. Except for a tamei, like meaning the other ones, so they can't come. The first bunch can't come to the granary to get their fix of truma, but we will send them truma, except for the somebody who's tamei and somebody, because if somebody who's tamei can't eat truma, and somebody who married a wife that he's not supposed to, a kohen who married a wife that he's not supposed to. Right? Yeah, so interesting. Before we go weiter, so the Taisvus ve'eluhein peiros shoyte v'katan. So what do you mean a katan? Any kid on the bar mitzvah is not doesn't get the truma. So it says if the katan, the second Taisvus up from the bottom, it's a katan that doesn't know how to duchen. If the katan doesn't know how to duchen, right? That's but once he knows how to duchen, then it's fine. Then he could. Okay. Anyway, so that's the Vaydim Gemara. So the Gemara says Bishlam acheres shoyte v'katan la b'nei deya ninu. They're not b'nei deya. So since they're not b'nei deya, you can't give them truma because they might not treat the truma with the proper respect, right? Well, I don't know if that's. I mean, because meaning the way Rashi says it, it's a pagam, not data. I'm sorry, I said they're not going to treat with respect. It's not. It doesn't. By giving it to a cheres shoyte v'katan shows that you're not treating the truma with respect. Right? What's the problem?
Because he can give it to his donkey. So what does that mean? Treat truma with respect. What does that mean? They give it to their donkeys to eat.
Right. So you don't do that in public. That's what it seems. La'ain kol, Rashi says. I think he's coming to answer your kasha. He says la'ain kol, meaning you wouldn't give something valuable to a cheres shoyte and katan. So, at least in the public. So obviously you're right. So you can give it to an animal, you for sure give it to them. But to do it in public shows like, we would never give anything chashuv to these people, but for truma we're going to give them. So that's what it's saying, not to give it to them in public, but you're allowed to send it to them in their house, right? If there's you have a home for cheres shoyte v'katans, you're allowed to give it to them in their house. Right, so then fine. And tundav dragon is navi. Why? Because that's beria. They're considered buried b'fnei atzma, and that's also, it's also a pagam to give the truma to them, right? Which again I don't understand. So I mean, they're not people. It's right. They're strange people, so you don't give it to them, right? Fine. Eved nami and Eved also dilma asi lasugim truma liyuchsim. Because if you're going to give it to an Eved, like we said in yesterday's daf, if you're going to allow the Eved to have truma, then he's going to end up, they're going to end up thinking that this Eved is a kosher or a kohen. So we don't want that. And obviously that's going according to Rabbi Yehuda in Rabbi Yehuda's town, because in Rabbi Yossi's town, they gave truma to avodim and nobody based any sort of yichus on that. Oral v'tamei, somebody who's an oral or tamei, because it's disgusting. They're considered disgusting. So you don't give truma to them. And the one you don't give it the truma to somebody who married a woman he's not supposed to marry, because that's a knas, right? That's where we're upset at him for marrying somebody that's usher. So he doesn't, even though he himself does not become puzzle, his kids become puzzle. So we don't give it to him, right? Elisha, my time aloi. So now why don't you give it to a woman? Right, meaning she's the wife of a kohen. So we had this as a bunch of blood. Go pligi bar papa Rav Huna breder Rav Yeshua. Chad amar mashum grusha. Chad amar mashum yichud. One is because we're afraid that they're going to get divorced. Meaning, if on a Sunday you give her truma, then she comes back on a Monday and you give her truma, but she got divorced Monday morning. So we're afraid we're just going to give it to an isha. So then she might end up eating truma even after she gets divorced. Which if she's a bas yisroel, she's not allowed to eat it. So because of that chashash, we never give it to her, right? Now, so you're going to say, okay, so what about if she's a bas kohen? Why, according to this reason, why can't an isha who's a bas kohen go get the truma from there? Why are we saying it across the board? So we said because it's a gezerah, right? Fine. The other one is because of yichud, that we're afraid that she's going to end up being alone with men by the place, and therefore that's a problem. My benayu, what's the practical difference between them? Yeah. Ika benayu ki dari be dari the makar l'masa v'lo yishrivu inchi. Granary that's close to the city, but people don't usually go there, right? So memela, if it's close to the city, then they're going to know, since it's near the city, they're going to know whether there's the divorce, because people talk. Right? If it's out of town, they may not know that this lady got divorced. But if it's close to the city, everybody's going to know. So there's no chashash of divorce, but there's a chashash yichud, right? There's a chashash of yichud. Yeah, inami. So that's one difference. Inami, the marchik, the opposite. If the place is far away, but there's a lot of people. So if it's far away, so then they were not worried about. We're worried about divorce. But since people go there, we're not worried about yichud. So that would be the practical difference between these two reasons. The Gemara continues and says, the kulan b'shagran all these, right? There's 10 people that are mentioned in the. There are 10 people that are mentioned in the thing.
Right.
Right. The first 8 we can send the truma to them to the house. We could do home delivery, or whatever it is. Yeah. Chutz mi tamei v'nasi isha she'ena against law, except for somebody who's tamei and somebody who marries a woman who's not proper for him. Right. So, but for an oral, we do send it to him. Right. My timer, mishum da honest tamei. I'm sorry, mishum da honest. Why? Because he's an ayin. It's not his fault. He's an oral. Right. We said it's a machlokes b'shainim. The beginning of one of the prokim here that of exactly why he's an oral. But according to Rashi, he's an oral because his siblings died from hemophilia. So Mamela, he didn't have a bris, so he's an einus. So that's why you're allowed to send it to him. So tamei nami are honest. Somebody who's tamei is also an einus, right? So the Gemara answers no. Ha nafesh einsei v'hai loy nafesh einsei. Somebody who's tamei. I'm sorry. Somebody who's an oral, that's a major einus. It's not his fault that his siblings died. Right? It's not. So he's a full einus. But this other guy, he's not. This other guy does not have a big einus because he's tamei. But somebody who's tamei could have watched himself. Right? Fine. Tana Rabbanim. However, this is the next Gemara. Is a fascinating Gemara. Tana Rabbanim. So an eved and a woman, we don't give them chum in the base of grown. So but if it's in a town that they do give to women, right? So then, like we said the nafkamina a few lines ago, maybe if there's a lot of people around and it's close to the city, going according to the one that says grusha, but whatever it is, if it's a scenario you give out to women, we give it to the woman first, meaning they're all waiting online to get their truma. We give it to the woman first. We let them leave right away. What's it saying? Right? Meaning the way Rashi understands the question. First, you said you don't give it to them. And then he said b'makam that you do give it to them. So what does that mean? Hachi kamar. B'makam shechalkan meiser ani. Right? In a makam that you give meiser ani, because meiser ani they give out to women, not only to men, because there's no gezerah from the truma. So nicely, you give it to the woman first. My time on Hashem zilusa, because it's zilusa. Now zilusa, what exactly is zilusa? I think the literal translation means cheapen, right? It's a zilusa. So now, it could be a lot of things, right? So the art scroll, I looked it up how they typed zilusa, and the way they said it was that for her to stand amongst men is a bazayin for her. That she has to stand there amongst men. Right? So Mamela, for her sake, we let her go inside. So would that apply nowadays? I'm saying with the women nowadays that are all outside, they all are in the streets anyways. Does that mean if you're waiting online in a grocery store and it's all men and there's one woman waiting online, do you mechuyev to let her go first? I don't know the answer to this question, but you mechuyev to let her go first. See, if it's a regular grocery store with women and men together, okay. But if not, so maybe you mechuyev to let her go. I don't know. It's zilusa, but then you could say nowadays. It's obviously that back then women were not meant to go out into the street. That's women stayed home. So Mamela, a woman had to go get herself truma. So then, okay, so that's embarrassing, or not truma, ma'aser sheni. So that's embarrassing for her. But nowadays that women are in the street, who says there's any sort of zilusa?
I've never seen a separate line for kahanim. Really, let the kohen go first. I've never seen that happen before.
That's true.
You
but yeah,
should. I'm just saying, I've never seen it happen.
okay, so then you have the Aaron Kaplan seconds the thought.
It's not a chutzpah.
Excuse me, which any self-respecting kohen would go to the supermarket, please?
Okay, you know, Rabar, no kiddush for you this week. You're out.
I'm going to Muncie, honey, so forget it.
Sorry, that's why you're a big talker this week. Okay,
listen, he's trying to
I
stick
gave
up
you
for
a I gave you a compliment. It's unbelievable with you.
Yeah.
You're so used to people smacking you, you don't even understand when somebody gives you a compliment.
True. It's true.
Okay.
Yeah. No, so you're right. But Etzem, it could be to the rice. Okay, we have the makilim nowadays. The makilim nowadays who say kohanim, you don't have to do like that. But I don't know. It's a good point. Anyways, but no, it comes out very interesting because for our door, it's a very interesting teretz. It's a zilusa for a woman to wait online amongst men. Right? You have the famous Chassam Sofer, why women don't bench licht Chanukah, why they don't light the menorah. Chassam Sofer says because they used to light outside, and it's a bizayon for a woman to be amongst all the men lighting outside. Right? Single girls, because the woman is yotze with her husband. Right? But single girls waiting outside, they said it's a bizayon. Okay, that's a foreign thing nowadays. Fine. Okay, Amar Rava. When I would have men and women coming to me for the dinim, right? Meaning each one has their own din, not that they're fighting each other. Right? One woman is coming and she's suing somebody, and a man is coming. Have a sharina tigr de gavra beresha. I would take care of the man's court case first. Right? Amina de mechayev mitzvahs. He's chayev in mitzvahs, which is a loaded line right there. So what? So he's chayev. So women are second-class citizens, right? But that's what seemingly he thinks to say, because since they have more mitzvahs to do than they don't have, then Mamela they should go first. Which, by the way, we know that the Igros Moshe says that the reason why women have less mitzvahs is because they're holier. They don't need those mitzvahs to keep them on their toes. They're erlich enough without it. We need the constant reminder, lulav and esrog and matzah and all those type of things. Sukkah, right? But given the shemana laha, once I heard this din, so therefore that's din that you're supposed to give the woman truma first. Sharina tigra de itza beresha. So then I went and I did the tigra, the fight of the woman first. My time on Mishum zilusa, because it's zilusa. Right? So yeah, now I meant to look this up in my notes today. I forgot. There's a fascinating din. What happens if two is a great machlokes. If there's two, how do you say it? Two people have yahrzeit on Shabbos, right? Or they have yahrzeit that day. Who gets kadima? One has yahrzeit for his mother. One has yahrzeit for his father. So who gets kadima? Right? So
say the mother based on this Gemara.
The one for the father. The one for the father.
Well, that's what you would say, but he wouldn't ask it if it was the father.
The father's only a rave.
Oh, you're saying the father?
Very
only
good.
A rave.
Very good.
That sounds like a man that's been learning Yevamos for 100 block.
Very good.
Yeah. Of course, I'm not.
To that?
What?
What's the answer?
Oh, here it is. So the Birkei Yosef says, I just found it in my notes. Hold on one second. I meant to look at it today and I forgot. So the Olam is not gonna like this Birkei Yosef's teretz. He says you go with the father first because the men have the avoin of bittul Torah, so he needs more of a kapara than the lady.
All right, I got the first part right.
That goes along with
not the reason.
That's not. No, we don't like that reason. Can we come up with another one?
Yeah.
So if the goyin had it for his mother, yahrzeit for his mother, somebody else had it for their father, the goyin would go first. Because
right.
They have no bittul Torah. No.
Yeah. So then he says weiter Then he says, this is an even better one. Birkei Yosef says you have a guy who has yard site for his father, and the other one that he says the balabas should go first, because the Talmud Chacham has many more schusim than a balabas, so therefore he should get the amud. Yeah. So anyway, so that was his way of looking at it. But l'chayra from here, what would you say from this Gemara? I don't know. It's not a zilusa, but meaning if not for this, no, here's the thing. If not for the cheapening the one, whatever, that it's a design for the woman, the man taka would go first. Right? Meaning he's saying that really the man goes first because the bottom line is he does more mitzvahs. Right? The only is to save face for the woman. Right? So to save face for the woman, he's saying it's more important to save face for the woman. Other than that, the man goes first, as difficult as that is to understand. Right? Okay, whatever it is. Fine. But yeah. Okay, but it's interesting that we look at it like, you see that? They don't want the women outside. They want to send them home like it's an anti-woman thing. If anything, fakir. We're looking at it for her sake. Okay, fine. Next Gemara. Higdilu taruvas. So if they grow up, if the taruvas grows up, meaning these boys grow up, and then they freed each other. So now they can both get married. So shichuru, it says they freed each other. Ibai in, Eloi by Eloi. If they wanted to, they could have freed each other, and if not, not. V'amai lisa shivcha ena yachol, bascharen ena yachol. Right? So meaning they can't marry a shivcha and they can't marry bascharen. So it's not pshat that they should have an option to free each other. They should be mechuyev to free each other. Right? The Gemara is saying shikru, if they free each other, then they can get married. So the Gemara is asking, what do you mean if they could? They should be mechuyev too. So Amar Rava, because like with Chatzi Eved, Chatzi Ben Chayrin, we force the guy who owns the half of the Eved to sell so that the guy can get married. So Amar Rava, we force him to free each other. We force them to free each other. Fine. So then we said Noisnan Alei Chumre, right? So we said we give the Chumras of a kohen and the Chumras of yisroel. So what is that coming to include? Lamai Hilchasa. What is that halacha for? So Amar Papa, now we get a little bit into Kachin. Amar Papa leminchasam for their korban minchas. So why? Because basically there's two types of korban minchas. There's a korban mincha for yisroel, there's a korban mincha for a kohen. So the korban mincha for yisroel, they take off the chalitza, which is the three fingers, like the palm full, however they touch it, and then they put that onto the mizbeach and it gets burned. And the kohen does not. They can take the chalitza, but it does not necessarily need to be burned or anything like that, right? So that's what we do. So limin chasam nikmetzes, meaning you don't even have to take a chalitza according to the halacha for a kohen. So what do? Nikmatzes keminchas yisroel. We make them do a kaimetz like a yisroel's korban because that's the chomer. But it does not get eaten. Like the minchas, I think I said before that it does get eaten, but a kohen's, if you don't have to take off the chalitza, but if you do, then it has to get totally burned. So that's what we're doing here. We make him take off the chalitza like a korban mincha of yisroel, but he can't eat it like the korban mincha of kohanim. Haketzad, hakaimetz kara ba'atzmai. The kaimetz, you bring it by itself, meaning you put it onto the mizbeach. Bashirayim. And the rest of the korban, craven ba'atzman, you also put it onto the mizbeach by itself. So the Gemara asks, Ikri Khan, you're going to have, why don't we say here, Kol shemimenu liishim harei hukak b'bal saktiru. Anything, so there's a rule that anything that's meant to go on the mizbeach, to be burned, then it's in a isra bal taktiru. Right? Meaning if it's supposed to be burned, then you cannot take the leftovers and put it back on the mizbeach. Right? So if that's the case, how are we doing that here? Here we're saying you have the kaimetz that's supposed to be burned, and the leftovers you're not allowed to put back on. Right? So I'm going to review the bread Rishon Pazi, the Masagul Lashum Eitzim. He has a simple eitzah. You're burning the flour not because like a korban putting it onto the mizbeach. You're saying this flour now gets the status of wood. Rabbi Lazar, the Tanya Rabbi Lazar, the reach nichayach iatamayla. You can't put it, you're not, when it says you're not allowed to put the leftover things onto the mizbeach, that's only if you're putting it on that it should be a reach nichayach, a pleasant smell, right? But if you put it up there as if you're putting up wood, then that's fine. Saying about it, ask that's good at Rabbi Elazar, who lets you do this, who makes you say that flour has the status of wood. What are you going to say to Rabbanon? So our answer is David look at Rabbi Elazar Reb Shimon, the Tani Rabbi Elazar Reb Shimon Aimer, HaKaimetz Karev La'atzmai, that the Kaimetz you can bring it by itself, Ashirayim, and the leftovers from it, Mispazrin al Beis Hadesh, and what you do is you spread it out on the part of the Mizbeach that has the ashes, like the coals, which is where they put all the junk from the birds. They put it there. So Rabbi Elazar Reb Shimon holds you can take the rest of it and put it there. Afilu Rabbanan, and who say that you're not allowed to do this, they don't disagree with Rabbi Elazar Reb Shimon. That's by the Minchas kohen who did a chet, the Bas Hakravihi, because that's meant to go onto the Mizbeach, right? So therefore, you can't just go sprinkle it up around the places that it's not supposed to be. But here, where it's not really supposed to be brought up, the only reason why we're bringing it is because it's a suffix, whether it's a yisroel's kaimetz or it's a suffix, whether it's a kohen's kaimetz. So therefore, even the Rabbanan would be minded that you'd be allowed to sprinkle it on the rest of the mizbeach, but you can't put. They both agree that you cannot put it in the main part of the mizbeach. Right? Fine. Okay. So that's that Mishna. Now the next Mishna we continue with confusions, but here it's already more classic. So we learned way back that a woman was for havchana, right? When a woman gets divorced or a husband dies, she's not allowed to get married for 3 months, so that we can know if she gets pregnant, whether she's pregnant from the first husband or she's pregnant from the second husband. Right? So let's say she didn't do it and she has a kid. So now we have a kid that we have no idea if he's from the first husband or the second husband. Right? So this continues along with the sfeikus. So Misha if she didn't wait for her husband for 3 months, well, we're saying husband, but it's in the Gemara, it's not going to be so simple. Are we talking about this is after death? Is this after divorce? What is this after? It's going to make a big difference. So anyway, she didn't wait the 3 months. Venices, she got married, Violda, and she had a baby. We don't know if this is a 9-month pregnancy to the first husband or it's a 7-month pregnancy to the second husband. So then what? So let's say she had sons, she had other sons from her first marriage, she had other sons from her second marriage, and she had this son who is a suffix, right? So there's kids all around, right? Now they get married and they die without kids, either the suffix son or the other sons. So chaltzin v'loy miyavin, right? If the first case the Mishna is saying is if he gets married, the suffix kid, we don't know who his father is, he gets married and then he dies without kids. So now these guys can do chalitza, but they can't do yibum, because it may just be that he's their brother from the mother only. And we know that a brother from the mother does not do yibum, and they could actually be chayiv koros. So al suffix, we don't allow it. V'chein hu lahem, the same thing, him to them, meaning if they get married, right, and then the brothers who know who their fathers are, and they get married, they die without kids. So chalitz v'loy miyavim, he has to do chalitza also, and he can't do yibum, right? Because he can't do yibum because he might end up being that he's only a sibling from the mother. Fine, on to Amud Beis. Then let's say he has brothers from the first husband and brothers from the second husband, right? But not from that mother, right? Right? So, meaning this woman who got married had one kid. This kid that's a suffix ben Zayin, suffix ben Tes. But the husbands from their first marriages had kids, right? So now he's going to be related to some and not related to others. So now what happens if they die? So who chalitz and miyavim? If the brothers die, so he can do chalitza or yibum. He could do either one. Because again, he's the only kid. Rashi points out, if he's not the only kid, then he would not be able to do the yibum. Right? But since he's the only kid, some manushach, he could do it. The haim, but if say he dies, so the brothers, echad chalitz, echad yav, then one could do chalitza, and then once one does chalitza, then the other one could do yibum. Fine. Now, so that's the first set of cases in the Mishnah. Now, the second case is echad yisroel v'echad kohen. So let's say one of the fathers of the Suffolk fathers is a yisroel and one is a kohen, meaning she was, let's go with she was married to a kohen, she got divorced from the kohen, and then within 3 months she married a yisroel and she had a kid. So now, not only does this kid a suffix of who his father is, it's a suffix whether he's a yisroel or a kohen, which is going to be exactly the same case as the Mishnah we had in yesterday's daf, which was if you had a woman who had a baby and her shifcha had a baby, and they got mixed up, so she doesn't know which one is the kohen and which one is the eved, right? So yeah, echad yisroel v'echad kohen. One is a yisroel, one is a kohen. So again, I will go through this fast. We had it yesterday. Naisa isha ruya l'kohen. He could only marry a woman who's fitting to be a kohen, to marry a kohen, meaning no grusha, no chalitza. Vein metamel l'mesim. He's not allowed to become tamei meis because he's a suffix of a kohen. Vim nitma, but if he did become tamei, any suffix asarabayim, he does not get malchus because you have to prove that he's a kohen, which is no way to prove. He's not allowed to eat truma. But if he did, he doesn't pay keren b'chaimish. And he does not take anything from the goyren, from the granary. But he's allowed to sell the truma like a kohen can, and he can keep the money. Because it's hamoitzi, we said yesterday, it's hamoitzi mechaver olavaraya, meaning he can go to the kohen who says truma, he says, hey, you're a yisroel, you're not a kohen. He says, yeah, prove it. So since the guy has to prove it, which you can't, so he's allowed to keep the truma. But he does not get kachik kachim. And you don't give him kachim. But you can't take his kachim either, like we said. If he has kachim, you can't take it from him because you have to prove it. And he's potter from giving zroya l'chayim v'keva, right? That's the jaw and the leg and the stomach, because we said that could be eaten by anybody, even a yisroel. It just has to be given to a kohen first, so he can keep it. And let's say he has a bechor, since he has a bechor, and he's a kohen, and he's a suffix kohen, so he can't have it, so he has to put it out till it gets a mum. And we put on the chumra of Kahanim and chumra of Yisrael, which we just said in the Gemara. Means for the korban, what do you call it? The korban Mincha, right? So he has to give it like a Yisrael and burn it like for a kohen. Fine. Hayushneim Kahanim. Let's say both fathers were Kahanim. Right? So then he's no suffix kohen, he's a vadei kohen. So who einin aleim? He becomes an einin for them, meaning if both of these fathers die, he becomes an einin. We give him the chumras that he's an einin, so he can't eat any kodshim and stuff like that. And if he dies, if the kid dies, then both fathers become einin and tu misafik. Right? So who, in which we're going to see in the Gemara, how does he become an einin on his first father if the father died? Right? Meaning it says we're saying that maybe the first, so it can't be that it's talking about a case.
Maybe they never told them.
They just maybe, right? Okay, the Gemara is gonna have an interesting, right? The Gemara is gonna have an interesting shot, right? But we'll see, right? Who ain't a matama lahem? He cannot become tummy to them, right? Vehain ain't a matama lahem. They can't become tummy to him, right? Because again, it's a suffix. Meaning he becomes an einin and all that, because why not? But they can't do the tumah because it's a suffix tumah. Who ain't a yarishai son? He doesn't inherit them. Why? Because the other kids can say, who says you're our sibling? You're the other husband. You're the other one. He has to prove who he is, right? Which the shaila is, what happens if there's no other siblings? So then does he get the Yerusha? Okay, aval heim yarshin isai, but they can yarshin him, right? because it's because Mammon Amutta B'Safik, that's Cholkin. So it's Safik money. So each one splits it. He's potter if he hits any of these fathers or he curses them, he's potter on both. Right? Why? Because we're going to see like how exactly do you give hasra to this guy? You give him, I can't have hasra. Safik is not a hasra. Again, before you give somebody any misa, you have to warn him. But warning me safek doesn't work. So what are you going to tell this guy? You may or may not be you're going to get punishment for killing, right? Or cursing. Doesn't work because it's only a suffix if it's his father. Fine. The question is why that has to do with kohanim. That's in any case. That's in all the cases, right? He doesn't know who his father is, so it's the same suffix. Okay, fine. So we know that there's 24 mishmaris, 24 groups of kohanim that rotate. So he goes to the mishmar of each one if he wants, right? But he doesn't get when they give out the kachim. He doesn't get because again, he's a suffix, so he can't get it. But let's say both fathers were in the same mishmar. So then Memanav Shach, he's part of that mishmar of the kid. So then he's allowed to take one portion because either way, whichever one of them is his father, he's entitled to his father's portion. Right? Okay, so that's all the cases of the Sfeikis. So the Gemara says, Dafka Michlatz V'Hada Yevumi, like we said a few times. Dafka, in these cases, you have to do the chalitza first. You can't do the yibum first. To do yibum first, you can't. The kapaga because then he's going to be possibly marrying a yivam l'shuk. Meaning, once you do the chalitza, if this lady is really his sister-in-law, so he's doing yibum. If she's not the sister-in-law, but she already got chalitza from the one who her brother-in-law was, so therefore she's yivam l'shuk, which is mutter. Fine. So then Omar Shmuel, Asara Kohanim Oimdim, right? If you have 10 Kohanim standing in one place, one of them separates from the group and he sleeps with a woman, right? A single woman, Havlat Shtuki, so that Vlad is considered a Shtuki, which literally means a quiet one, which means that it's a Vlad that doesn't have a father, which is pretty pashut, right? Again, you had a group of 10 guys standing around, one of them broke away with a mask on, slept with a woman, and then he goes back to the group. So we have no idea who it was. And then the lady has a baby. So saying the Vlad is a shtuki. My shtuki. So what does it mean he's a shtuki? If we say, we keep him quiet from inheriting his father.
Why does it have to be with Kohanim?
Well, for the next Gemara.
Oh, okay.
Right? But for the next Gemara, it's going to be with Kohanim out the yichus. But you're right. L'chayr, it's the same. Yeah, that's the same thing.
Yeah.
Because they thought they were better mentioned. They had 10 Kohanim. They didn't think it'd be an issue.
Hey, maybe. But anyway, so again, if we say that they're quieting him down from the belonging of his father, Pshita, Miyadina Navu, Manu, do we know who the father is? We have no idea who the father is. So how could we be mechayev? How could we tell him that he can't yarshin? He doesn't know who his father is. Of course, he's not yarshining. We quiet him down. This is why it's saying it. We quiet him down from the din kahuna, meaning he's not allowed to be a kohen, even though there's nothing wrong with the kid. He was a single man that married a single woman, and they had a kid. They didn't marry. I'm sorry. They don't want to say mazana because that's incorrect. Right? They had relations. Right? So he's not allowed to do the avodah. Right? But he's possible to avoid my timer. It should be for him and his children after him. You need to have children who are miyuchas. But you don't have that here because the kid doesn't know who his father is. So Mameli doesn't have a yichus. Right? So then Maskul Rapapa, so Rapapa asked the Kasha, Elamiata Gabi Avram. We need the Chumash people now. Yeah. From by Avram Avinu, Tichsiv Liyas L'cha Leilakim, Vulazaracha Acharecha. Right? I'm going to be Hashem to you and to your children. So Hasam Maikom is Mazale Rahmana. What exactly was the Torah telling you? The Zaracha Acharecha. What was he telling Avram Avinu? Right? So Hachi Kamrale, this is what he was saying. Do not marry a guy or a shivcha. The lezel zaracha basra, so that your children won't go with her yichus. Because we learned.
What about Hagar?
Oh, excellent, very good. So let's just get to that in a second. Let's explain what's going on here. So what Hashem was telling Avram Avinu is, don't let your kids marry goyim or a shivcha, because we know that we go with the mother. We go with the genealogy of the mother. So if they're going to marry goyim, so then the kids are going to be goyim, and I don't want that. So that's what he means with zaracha acharecha. Oh, so then the question is, so how did Avram Avinu marry Hagar? Right? Hagar was a shivcha. So how did he marry her? Right? So the Marsha says that it was an automatic, just like we learned that right when you free the slave, she becomes automatically a yid. So he must have, when he married her, he must have freed her, and she automatically became a yid, and therefore he was allowed to marry her. I think that's one pshat that he says. Yeah. Oh, and there's another pshat. How does it go? There's another pshat that this was before he got this mitzvah. He married her before he got this mitzvah. I don't know the history of it, so exactly when it happened, but that's another teretz. Fine. So Meisvei, say as the kasha, Rishon Roili is kohen gadol. Remember we said when the case where they had two brothers kohanim, one died without kids. This is way back, right? One died without kids, and they didn't wait 3 months to do the yibum. So they did the yibum, now they have a kid. So we're saying, Mamad of Shach, the kid is going to be okay out kahuna, right? So, because either he's from the father who died, or he's from the new one. So it's just a matter of who his father is, but the bottom line is his father's a kohen. So we said he's royally as the kohen gadol. That's how much emphasis the Gemara wanted to put, that he could be a kohen gadol. So the Gemara says, we're here, we're saying you need miyuchas, but Lekon he doesn't have it. All right. So our answer, Zara miyuchas acharav derabanan. To have the Zara miyuchas acharav, that's really the rabbanon. Oh, you said a pasuk, zaracha acharecha, the kra, like we always say with these things. The kra, asmachta ba'alma. The kra is just the asmachta ba'alma, but really it's only a derabanan dikadin. The chigaz rabbanon biznus. The rabbanon only said a gezer of yichus by znus. B'nesuin, but by a proper marriage, like gazer rabbanon, they weren't gazer rabbanon. So by these 10 guys, and one guy separates and sleeps with the woman, so that was out of wedlock. So memela, that's as nus. The rabbanon said we cannot have a kid that comes from this be a kohen. I mean, he could be a kohen, but he can't do the avodah because he doesn't know who his father is. But by yibum, even though they didn't listen, they didn't wait the 3 months, but since it happened through a marriage, so then that's not so bad, and the rabbanon did not make their gezerah in that case. So then the Gemara asks, now this kasha, it goes around 10 lines, this kasha. Ubiznus mi gazer rabbanon. Did the rabbanon really, it's not a hard kasha, but it's long. Ubiznus mi gazer rabbanon. Did the rabbanon really make a gezerah of znus that the kid can't be a kohen? But Tanan, and now the Gemara is going to analyze our Mishna. But Tanan, if somebody didn't wait, right? The woman didn't wait after her husband for 3 months. Venissus, she got married, we all know she had a kid, so then we don't know if it's from the 7th month gestation from the second husband or it's 9 months from the first husband. So my achra baila. So what does it mean that she didn't wait after her husband? If she didn't wait 3 months to get remarried after her husband died, ema seifa. And what about the seifa in the Mishnah? Who einin aleim v'hein einin alav? He can become an einin on the fathers, and they become the einin on him. Who einin aleim? We understand he could be an einin on them. Mishkachas law b'nesuin desheni. It could have happened in the second marriage. The likud atzam is the kama. And the way he would possibly an aina on the first husband, even though he died before this guy was born, obviously, is that when they how do you call it? They take out his bones to rebury him. So on that day, there's a din oinen, right? So that would be the scenario where he would have oinen even though his father died. It's not exactly the most common case. Even though his father died already, it's possible that he could have aninus on his father again later on, years later. How do you find a case where they are oinim on him? Kama hamisle, the father died, right? That's how we got into this whole mess. The father died. The woman didn't wait 3 months and got married to somebody else.
Yes, amazing.
The Gemara wasn't going with Chias HaMesim for some reason, right? It wasn't going with Chias HaMesim, right? So he's saying, how could it be possible that the parents could be an Einin if he died? So, okay, so it can't be that the first husband died. Vela Begrusha, must be she's a divorce. He divorced. He divorced his wife. My Achar Baila, what does it mean after her Baila? Achar Get Baila. After the get of her Baila. So now, if that's the case, Ema Seifa, who ain't Matama Lahem, he can't become tummy to them, Vahem ain't Matama Loy, and they can't become tummy to him if he dies. So Bishlam Mahain ain't Matama Loy, the Chumra, right? So we say L'chum, the Kol Chad V'chad Duma Lav Brehu. To each one, how do they know it's their kid? Right? We don't know whose kid it is. So how can they become tummy to him if the kid dies? Elahu ain't Matama Lahem Amahai. But if he to not become tummy to them, why not? Bishlam L'sheni Loy L'tamalei. To the second one, he can't become tummy because maybe he's the first husband's father. He can't become tummy to the second because he's the son of the first. El yisroel the rishon the to the first one he should become tamei mimanavshach ibrehu shaper. If it's his father, shap become a tamei. The first one is his father. Vibar basrahu, and if he's the second one, shap become a tamei. The chololhu, he's a cholol because his mother it was a grusha, and if his father was a kohen, again we're talking about a case where they're both kohanim. Then the father married a chalal, and the kid's a chalal. So why can't he become tamei? He's not a kohen, right? So therefore, it can't be talking about from divorce either. So what's the only option left? Elalav biznus. It must be talking about where the woman was mezana with a man. She's supposed to wait 3 months until she gets married to somebody else, but she didn't, right? So now from znus, we don't know who the kid is. Umay achar baila. So what it says baila, it says her husband. How could it be that was just nus? So it means achar baila. It means after the person who slept with her. The katani seifa, and the seifa says oila b'mishmar shalzeh v'shalzeh. This guy, this kid, who's a suffix, who doesn't know who his father is, can go to each one's mishmar. V'tiyuf to the Shmuel, it's a kasha on Shmuel, slugs up Shmuel, because Shmuel says that because if the kid doesn't have a father, he can't do the avodah, right? So Amarav Shmaya, no, it's not talking about that. It's talking about Mima Enes. It's talking about our good old Miyun. What's Miyun again? If you have a girl who loses her father, so she's a Yisaima, she's less than 12 years old. So the Torah says, Midrabanan, because we don't want just men marrying her, they said the siblings and the mother can marry her off. But she has the rights of refusal till she's bas mitzvah. She can just walk out of the marriage whenever she wants. She has to do it in front of Bezdin, but she could just walk out whenever she wants. So that's the case that we're talking about here in the Mishna, where she did miyun, right? She got married, then she did miyun, and then within 3 months of her miyun, she married somebody else. Then she had a kid. So there was no znus here. So that's why, and that would be the case in the Mishnah. That's why the kid could do the kahuna because it was done through marriage. So the Gemara asks, is it possible for her to have a kid? Right? Meaning the whole thing is a suffix, whether she had a kid from the first husband or the second husband. But if it was by miyun, is it even possible? But Tani Rabibi Kamed Rav Nachman, and we had this Gemara also way back when. 3 women are allowed to use a moich. Ketana, Mu'beres, and Meinika. A katana, a pregnant woman, and a nursing woman. Katana, shemetis avar b'tamas. A katana, because we're afraid she's going to get pregnant, it's a sakana, and she'll die. Muberes, if she's pregnant, shema tasa ubra sandal. Maybe she's going to get pregnant again, and then it's going to smash the first fetus. And menika, if she's nursing, shema tigmulas b'noviyamas, because she might have to force herself to stop nursing her second baby, whatever the first baby, because of the second baby. So therefore, all of these 3 are allowed to use birth control. Ba'ezi katana. So now, which katana can use birth control? From 12 years and a day, ad bashtem until 12 years and a day. Pachas mikan or yisroel kain. If it's more than that of 12 or less, mishameshes kedarka v'lechas. She can just have regular intercourse, and it's not a problem because under 11 years old, she's not going to get pregnant. And once she's 12, it's not dangerous. Which one? It doesn't make a difference. Both of them, all these cases, they don't need to use birth control. They could have regular relations. And Hashem will have Hashem. All right, so we already discussed this whole machlokes over here of exactly what this is. But either way, so what's the kasha? So it can't be a girl who's doing miyun could possibly have a baby, because if she's less than 11, she's not going to get pregnant. And from 11 to 12, she's going to use birth control, so it's dangerous. So then what would be the case? So then the Gemara switches. We're talking about it if they got married b'tois. What does that mean? If they made a tanai, they got married with a tanai, right? And then she didn't meet the tanai. Let's say he got married with a tanai. He says, I'm going to get married to you, engaged, really, not married. They officially didn't have bia, even though the Gemara here is going to say that really they could have had bia. He said, I'm going to get married to you, and you're going to have, if the Mets win, then I'm staying married to you. If they don't win, then we're out. So, and then the Mets didn't win, so then she's out. Right? And then she goes within 3 months of that and she marries somebody else. So that's not snus. If she was not raped, right, or forced, asura, then she's asdras, meaning if a woman is mezana willingly, she's not allowed to go back to her husband. Hanispasa, mutaris. But if she was forced, then she's mutter. And then you have another case, even if she was not forced, she's still mutter. In which case is that her marriage was a mistake, right? Even if she has a kid on her shoulders, all she has to do is if the tanaim of the marriage weren't met, that's a chiddush, because this is even if she already had a kid, which then makes the bia a bia znus, right? But even so, that's okay. She can do miyun. And she could say, I'm out of the marriage because the tanaim weren't met, and therefore she's out. So that would be the case in the Mishna. So basically, just to chazer over, our Mishna can't be talking about from marriage. It can't be talking about from divorce. We thought maybe it's talking about znus, but we said no, it's talking about miyun. And then we shlugged that up and said it's not talking about miyun, it's talking about kedushay tois. And that's how come she was married to two. And that's why the kid is kosher to marry to do the avoid in the kahuna, because he didn't come from a case of znus, he came from regular cases of marriage. Okay, we'll stop over here. I wish everybody a good night and Zag is up. Okay, I'm going to run to Ma'ariv now. All right. Zag is up.
Thank you.
Good night.
Oh, yeah.